Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Whether or Not. We are your co-hosts for this evening's show. I'm Nick Guzzo.
And I'm Joe Ruch. And Nick, we've been dealing with above average temperatures to start this week. However, things look to be settling down a bit more seasonable out there.
Yeah, Joe, we had quite the warm and dry stretch for a while, but then had a cold front move through midweek. And this weekend, Joe, looks a little unsettled as well.
Well, hopefully Ryan can deliver some good news as he will be giving us the forecast later in the show. Before that, for Nature in the News this week, I'll be talking about a rare earthquake that struck in southern New England. Also, in nearly 170 years, 2020 breaks the record as the most active hurricane season.
My Nature in the News stories consist of Hurricane Ida's crippling impacts in Central America and another story talking about ongoing research with wildfire smoke.
And now, time for Nature in the News. Southern New England was rattled by an uncommon earthquake early Sunday morning. The quake was originally a magnitude 4.2, but after two revisions by the USGS, it was knocked down to a magnitude 3.6 quake. The earthquake struck at a depth of a little more than 15 kilometers, or 9.3 miles. This was the strongest earthquake in that area since a magnitude 3.5 hit back in March of 1976. Over 1,000 people reported the quake, including my aunt, who shot me a concerned text during the morning hours asking why the ground was shaking. The center of the earthquake was a few miles off the coast of New Bedford, Massachusetts at approximately 9:10 a.m. The police department said several people called, only reporting minor damages to house, and no fatalities have been reported.
The strongest hurricane of the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season made landfall last week in Nicaragua. Hurricane Ida was a Category 4 hurricane with winds of 140 miles per hour at landfall. Ida brought powerful winds, a storm surge upwards of 18 feet, and heavy rainfall to Central America. This is the first time the Greek name Ida has been used for a hurricane, and the storm has truly left its mark. Although Ida's winds were powerful, the heavy rainfall brought far greater impacts. Rainfall totals from the hurricane got upwards of 35 inches in some locations. This led to horrific flash flooding across the region. Devastation spread from Belize to Panama, with Honduras, Nicaragua, and Guatemala seeing the worst of it. Ida is the deadliest hurricane to impact Central America in 15 years, with over 250 fatalities being reported so far, and hundreds of people still remain missing. After moving away from Central America, Ida made landfall in Cuba on Saturday as a tropical storm, and has been meandering near Florida all week as heavy rain and gusty winds continue to impact the state.
As the tropical system Theta has officially been named, 2020 is now officially the busiest hurricane season on record. This is impressive considering the record dates back 170 years. The old record of 28 was set all the way back in 2005. All of this is occurring as Ida is churning towards the Gulf Coast over the next few days. It is very uncommon to have two named cyclones occurring at the same time in November. Another named storm is favored to develop within 5 days. It would be named Iota and go down as the 30th named storm of the year, farther solidifying 2020's place in the record book. It has never been recorded in our history 3 active storms churning in the Atlantic in November. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on if this system can develop.
2020 has been an awful year for the West Coast as the fight against wildfires seems never ending. The large number of fires this year has allowed for researchers to gain a better understanding of this phenomenon. Researchers at the University of Washington had planes fly through wildfire smoke plumes to study how their chemical composition changed over time. The goal of this research is to better smoke forecast and analyze how smoke impacts air quality. When fires burn materials, they generate particles called organic aerosols and brown carbon aerosols that lead to hazy conditions. Researchers found that these particles go through changes while in a smoke plume. As these aerosols are generated, they interact with other gases in the air and are impacted by the air's temperature, how much sunlight there is, and how concentrated the smoke plume is. All of these conditions change the aerosols and thus change the smoke plume. Aerosols rapidly change their composition from a vapor to a particle, while others just evaporate into a gas. Before this research, there were questions about if chemical changes actually happen in a smoke plume, and if they did, at what speed did they occur? From this study, scientists have gained a better understanding of how fast a smoke plume will dissipate, which aids in forecasting air quality. The next step in this research project is evaluating how smoke impacts weather patterns.
Good evening, everyone. I'm student meteorologist Ryan DePhillips with your Central PA forecast. This past week, we have seen some record-breaking warmth from Saturday to Tuesday, 4 days in a row with temperatures in the 70s. That's very unusual for this time of year. So I know you guys are used to this weather, but there are going to be some big changes ahead with some cooler weather. So definitely stay tuned for that. This weekend, we have this map on Friday. High pressure will start to move its way into the area, preceding a storm system that will leave some clouds earlier in the day on Friday. But as we move later into the day, high pressure will start to inch its way closer and provide more of the way as sunshine. And when the sun sets, there actually could be a nice sunset. But as we work our way into Saturday, that high pressure will start to dominate. But later in the day on Saturday, clouds will start to move its way back in as we have moisture from the southwest, meaning up with a low pressure from the Great Lakes, and that's actually going to be accompanied with a cold front. When that cold front moves through, there's going to be some cooler weather behind it, so stay tuned for the extended forecast just how cool it will get. But as we look underway on Friday for more details, high temperature 53 degrees, pretty seasonable for this time of the year. PM sunshine will give the way some clear skies overnight with a low of 32 degrees. And there could actually be some 20s. And again, remember, you guys might be saying that's pretty chilly. It's pretty seasonable for this time of year. So just keep that in mind. For Saturday, temperatures might be a little bit below average with a high of 49 degrees, increasing cloudiness later in the day, which will provide some rain on Sunday. And when that rain comes through, it will probably come in around 2, 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. or so. So early in the day, there could be some sunshine, but some clouds. And the cold front will come through later in that day. So stay tuned again just to see how cold it will get. But now we'll take it back to Salix Iverson, who has a feature on Jacob Morse's winter weather research.
December marks the meteorological start to winter. And while we are still a few weeks away, it is worth noting the importance of staying safe and understanding winter weather messaging this season. I sat down with Whether or Not alumni and Penn State meteorology senior Jacob Morse to discuss his research on winter weather communication through the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Hollings Scholarship Program.
Hollings program. It's a scholarship that's offered through NOAA, which is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and it provides successful undergraduates with a scholarship for their junior and senior years, as well as with a research internship that they conduct between their junior and senior years during that summer. And you can conduct that research internship at any NOAA facility. So what I did for my Hollings scholarship was I conducted my research internship at the National Weather Service in Bismarck, North Dakota. And what we were really focusing on was taking a social science research approach to winter weather messaging.
Even though COVID-19 canceled the in-person aspect of his internship, Jacob was still able to conduct research virtually through various methods.
I mean, it was a little different just because it was in the virtual format. But what we were able to do was to collect feedback through surveys and focus groups with meteorologists who work at weather service offices, non-meteorologists, so kind of the public sense, with emergency managers, as well as with broadcast meteorologists. So we got a lot of different opinions about how winter storms are messaged currently and what needs to be improved. And then through all of that feedback that we got, and based on social media research And through other forms of gathering information, we're able to come up with a set of conclusions.
In order to organize his research and results, Jacob created 3 categories for the time before an event: long range, medium range, and just before the event.
With the long range, we found that using simplistic map-based graphics are the best way to communicate an upcoming winter storm. With the medium range, using risk probability graphics, which is what the National Weather Service in Bismarck has used a lot of, is the best way to communicate the probability and to communicate the uncertainty of a winter storm at that lead time. And then just before the winter storm, when snow maps are released, you can also include uncertainty information on those snow maps. And that uncertainty information can actually be really useful if you include that on those snow maps just before the upcoming winter storm.
Even after the conclusion of his internship, Jacob has been able to continue his research during his last year at Penn State and present it at different National Weather Service offices and professional forums.
Presented my research to the National Weather Service office in Bismarck, to a National Weather Service office in Montana, as well as to the National Weather Service office in State College, and at a variety of other conferences and symposiums. So that's been able to allow my research to get out there and be able to get adapted for this upcoming winter season. There's actually a couple of weather service offices, including the one here in State College, that are using the findings from my research for updating the way that they message winter storms this winter. And then as for my future work, I'm planning on continuing it for my senior honors thesis here at Penn State. Primarily what I want to do is to conduct a larger sample size for the survey, just because we were kind of limited with that amount of people we could survey within the National Weather Service in terms of surveying the public. So getting a larger sample size of the public's perspective on this would be something that I would like to do here at Penn State.
Hopefully more National Weather Service offices can take advantage of Jacob's findings to continue their mission of protecting life and property. For Whether or Not, I'm Salix Iverson.
Welcome back, everyone. It's student meteorologist Ryan DePhillips with your extended forecast. And I just want to recap more details on this upcoming weekend. We're going to be in between 2 storm systems early on Friday and then eventually on Sunday. The average high this time of year is about 50 degrees, so Friday and Saturday will be pretty seasonable. But as that storm system moves its way on Sunday, temperatures will start to plummet, and when that cold front moves later in the afternoon on Sunday, we can already see those temperatures start to go in the upper 30s on Sunday. And those temperatures won't really climb much for the entire week. That's the big story. As Monday and Tuesday, temperatures will struggle to get out of the 40s. And again, with that average high of 49 degrees, that's about 5 to 10 degrees below average. Tuesday, we can even see some lake effect flurries. Nothing in the way of accumulations, but just something to keep in mind if you're out and about. But after Tuesday, each day will start to get a little bit warmer, and I think that will be the trend as we move into next weekend as well. So back to you, Joe and Nick.
And now back to our Weather Whiz quiz question. Which type of aerosols are produced by wildfires? Is it A, soot and ash, B, brown carbon and organic, C, sand and dust, or D, sulfur and ammonia?
And the correct answer is B, brown carbon and organic. These aerosols are generated from materials being burned by the wildfires and have been a key point in research for air quality.
Yeah, and Nick, it will be interesting to see the impact these will have on our climate, as we have been dealing with an above average burning season so far this year.
That's a really good point, Joe. Hopefully the West Coast can get a break from these fires real soon. And that's all the time we have for this evening's episode of Whether or Not. We're your co-hosts. I'm Nick Guzzo.
And I'm Joe Ruch. Have a great evening.